What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. And even though I'm at VidCon, just before I left, I took the time to make this video because I had a lot of people on my subreddit and on my Twitter feed asking me to talk about 2K games and the effect that they are having on the modding community for PC gaming on games like Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, this news does come right on the heels of the news from Bethesda over there with their new creator community tool where they basically allow you to pay for mods. I think there's probably going to be something similar to this for the folks over at GTA, and that's one of the reasons they're taking a hardline stance on mods. I think this is just the future of modding, for the record. I think they're going to try to monetize it as they continue to make these games as a service and trying to monetize them right to death and squeeze every dime they can out of their players. Now, if you are a console player and you're not used to PC gaming, then you're probably not aware that pretty much any video game that comes out on PC will probably have some level of mods for it. Maybe sometimes it's as simple as a cheat or a hack tool for the single player. Sometimes it's enough to completely recreate the game, add new items, new vehicles, new stuff to those games. Grand Theft Auto 4 and Grand Theft Auto 5 certainly are not an exception to that. In fact, they're some of the most heavily modded games to be ever released. Chances are, if you've watched YouTube for any amount of time, you've seen a Grand Theft Auto compilation that shows off some of these mods. People dressed up as Mario or as superheroes or flying cars or crazy physics or things along that lines. In fact, there are entire YouTube channels that to this day are dedicated to just modding Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5. And they're some of my favorite channels because they're hilarious. But unfortunately, all of these cool channels who make all of these cool videos and all of those cool mods and all of the players that use them will no longer have access to those mods or the tool Open4 because the folks over at Take-Two, the folks who publish Rockstar's games for them, they have sent a cease and desist telling them to shut down the project Open4. And obviously this affects the people that made the tools. It affects the YouTubers who use those tools to create their crazy and bizarre and wacky videos. Some of those dedicated channels will basically be shut down because of this. But there are a lot of people who bought Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto 4 because of how readily and easily moddable they were, because they knew they were going to get a lot of bang for their buck by downloading those mods and putting those cool mods into their game and getting infinite number of cool experiences. Now they've kind of wasted their money. Basically, if you saw one of those wacky videos of a guy dressed up as an Iron Man, or a guy dressed up as a monkey, or a guy shooting a gun that shot cars instead of bullets, and you bought the game to be able to do that stuff, tough luck. You just can't do that anymore. Now, as you can imagine, this has upset quite a few people, and they are definitely taken out online. You'll see it all over Reddit and 4chan and everywhere else, but there's also a change.org petition that has about 57,000 signatures the last time I checked. And on top of that, the Steam reviews have been just bombarded with people giving it negative reviews because of this situation. In fact, the last time I checked, it said the recent reviews were overwhelmingly negative, and it's actually dropped the overall score for the game from near perfect to just pretty good. Now, what's really crazy about this is the folks over at Rockstar you think would continue to support this mod, and they have in the past. In fact, they have recommended that modding tool to the public if they wanted to create mods or install mods. This was a good way to do it. Unfortunately, they seem to change their stance since then. Rockstar defended Take-Two's actions by saying their actions were not specifically targeting single-player mods. Unfortunately, Open4 enables recent malicious mods that we allow harassment of players and interfere with the GTA Online experience for everybody. We're working to figure out how we can continue to support the creative community without negatively impacting our players. Now, here's the thing. They actually did ban another set of mods this week called Force Hacks. And Force Hacks was a paid-for mod service that allowed you to break the Grand Theft Auto 5 experience, stealing other people's items, robbing them of money, filling your bank account filled with money. It was definitely something that was violating all of the terms and services of GTA5 Online and ruining the experience for everybody. At the same time that they took action on Open4, they took action on Force Hacks as well. In fact, with their cease and desist letter to the folks over at Force Hacks, they said since they made money doing it, they would actually come at them legally if they did not donate all of their proceeds to charity. So I think that's actually really cool, Rockstar. I'm glad you did that. The problem is the modding community continues to insist that Open4 was not Force Hacks. It was not capable of affecting the online gameplay. And certainly if it was, it is not a wide, commonly used thing to mess with the GTA 5 experience. The majority of players that was using Open4 were using it to mod only single-player experiences to add value to their game or to create machinimas for YouTube. They absolutely were not even using it to play GTA 5 online. Why would they when they can do literally anything offline? And if that is true, by the way, that comes across as very, very greedy, because the folks over at Take-Two said last year alone, they took in $8 billion worth of microtransactions on shark cards and other stuff in Grand Theft Auto 5. Honestly, how much more money could you need? And thinking this way could probably come across as just unsubstantiated and paranoid, except for this quote that came from the CEO of Take-Two. He said, "We are convinced that we are probably, from an industry view, under monetizing on a per user basis." And those comments were made on June the 1st, about 2 weeks before those cease and desist letters went out. Now that seems like a bit of a smoking gun a situation, and I think it's probably very reasonable to be thinking that way. But I think the reality is probably a little closer to this. I do think it's all about Grand Theft Auto 5 online, and I do think I can trust Rockstar when they say that they were afraid those mod tools were impacting that online service. And with $1 billion coming in a year, you bet your bottom dollar they do not want anything screwing that up. And I do know for a fact that the folks at Rockstar in the past have supported single-player mods, and I expect them to again in the future. I think they're kind of in a rock and a hard place situation. They definitely don't want to piss off their player base, but they also do not want to piss off the publisher who publishes their games and makes their games possible. At the end of the day, I think they will hopefully come around and be able to do that one day, but they don't want to see people that work at their office fired because Grand Theft Auto 5 fails and it affects the future of their company. Here's the thing. As a YouTuber, I don't know anybody at Rockstar, and nobody there's going to tell me anyway whether or not this is just about protecting Grand Theft Auto Online and keep it from being hacked, if it's to try to encourage more people to play online instead of offline. But the reality of it is, if you follow the money, that's probably always the case. The money is definitely the issue here, and they want to keep making money off of the product they made. And that's the problem with this future that we have going on with games as a service. Free mods do not work with games as a service. With games as a service, it's not about value proposition. Modding allows you to add a lot of extra value that you simply don't pay for. That's entirely free. The developers don't get a dime for. They would rather have an online server that you have to play on and sell you microtransactions and shark cards and things along that lines, buy individual items to play on their servers. That way, when they eventually shut the servers down, you're forced to move on to their next game and do the exact same thing again. And with Bethesda's Creation Club, it is very possible that once that thing is on its feet and successful, they will send out cease and desist letters to anybody creating free mods or creating tools that allow you to make free mods that are not official. And if you're not paying to be part of that system, or they're not getting paid for you being part of that system, it's entirely possible they'll shut the whole thing down, even though they're the ones who created the creation tools to begin with. And that, of course, is why the folks over at Steam tried to do the whole paid mod things. And mark my word, they will try to do it again in a way that you will put up with. I still feel that if creators want to create something and give it away, they should be allowed to do that. I shouldn't have to pay for it if the person who created that addition to your game doesn't want to charge me for it. But that's not how the law works. That's not how copyright works. At the end of the day, the people who created that code, who published that game, they have every right to send out these ceases and desists. And even if a court of law would rule otherwise, good luck fighting a giant company like Take-Two. They'll have that wrapped up in court till you are bled dry. And yes, companies like EA have always thought this way, and now we've seen some of the best heroes in the industry, like Gabe Newell over at Steam, and now Take-Two and Rockstar, and all these other companies, Bethesda, flipping on this because they realize there's money being left on the table, and they want that money. There are still heroes left in the industry, generally smaller indie developers who want you to do anything with their game that you want to do, as long as you pay for it once because they're just glad somebody's playing it. Rockstar used to be one of those heroes, and so did Gabe. Not anymore, and that sucks. I hope that we can live to see a point where they are those heroes again. But you know what they say, if you live long enough, you'll live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And here we are. But all of this is my perspective. I don't know how you feel about mods. I don't know how you feel about any of this stuff. You have to remember, I spent the first 35 years of my life gaming absolutely broke, so mods were very important to me. Getting free content, getting free stuff created by the community added a lot of value to me when I could not afford to get a brand new game. But you may feel differently, and I'd love to know if you do. Let me know in the comments section below. Is Rockstar well within their rights here? Is Take-Two within their rights here? Is this the future of gaming? Am I being paranoid? Are we all being paranoid here? Do you want mods to continue? Do you want to see them fail? Do you mind paying for mods? I want to hear that discussion in the comments section below, and I'll definitely be reading them. Guys, as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon. And the guys over at the modding community for GTA 5, thanks for making me get this video out for you. I'm really glad I was able to. I'll speak with you again soon.